Hello and welcome, guys. Today we're here to talk about the new Marvel film, Black Panther. It's generating a lot of buzz on the internet, as it should be. The first really big, um, major superhero release with not only a black lead but an almost entirely black cast.
Mm-hmm.
And it's getting great reviews, crazy buzz. It's destroying the box office. I mean, completely. February records out the window. And so, what do we think? But, I thought it was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, not at the top tier of the MCU films for me. I understand why it would be for a lot of people, especially those in the black community, that, yeah, it's a very important film. And, yeah, it makes sense for everyone there to love it. And, yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah, I really liked it too.
I thought it was unique how much of the African culture
Which
was
you
incorporated into
you
the
don't see very
Wakanda.
often in other than like films that are like based on true stories of African culture and the hardships with that. Like, yeah, it's got to be a brand new thing to see like a superhero film for one, and it's basically a sci-fi action film. All three of those combined into one, um, uh, revolving around African culture. That itself set it apart from everything else, and really gave it a unique feel and tone. And I really respected that aspect of it. That the score really helps out with that too. Very unique and bringing in a lot of cultural African aspects. Lots of chanting and African lyrics.
drums and stuff
There,
that
yeah.
sounded African.
Uh-huh. But yeah. First off, uh, an extremely talented cast. That not a weak link, I don't think. That Chadwick Boseman still fits the part
Mm-hmm.
as T'Challa, aka Black Panther, that he was introduced in Civil War, and yeah, he still did a great job, and so many supporting characters surrounding him. Um, uh, I'm gonna butcher the name Michonne from Walking Dead, something like the Negerera. Sorry about that. I'm terrible with names, but I'm a huge Michonne fan to begin with, and yeah, she practically stole the show on a couple occasions.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she was pretty cool. Thought um, Lupita Nyong'o. I thought she was good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I forgot to look his sister up if we had seen her before.
I hadn't. I don't think. I think she's relatively new. Letitia Wright. She was very good as well.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, one of the characters that I enjoyed, kind of the arc of it, that kind of a smaller player, but Winston Duke as the M'Baku character, the kind of the leader of the mountain tribes.
Oh, yeah.
I liked what they did with his character. I thought he was very interesting, but yeah, just a very unique film that again haven't seen a movie like this that looks like this with the setting, and yeah, so it basically follows T'Challa after like just a week after the events of Civil War, where his father got killed, and so he's being crowned king, and yeah, trying to balance the responsibilities of that and how he needs to um, act to um, help his people and stuff like that, and then yeah, his reign as king is basically challenged by Michael B. Jordan's character. That we'll probably go into that a little bit, like after we give our official score. We will go more into plot details that would be deemed semi-spoilerish. But
The stuff we didn't know beforehand going in.
yeah, but it's a good one to go in relatively fresh, and I went in that way for the most part. But yeah, so I thought the action sequences really stood out.
Like, there was one in a gambling den.
That was the highlight for sure.
Yeah, there was. At least it looked like one shot. You never know if they crop it together with CG or anything nowadays, but it looked. There was a lot of.
Yeah, really thought
like a one take.
the choreography of that whole scene was interesting.
Yeah, and yeah, but before the action really kicked into gear in that scene anyway, I thought like that was probably where the cinematography really stood out the most, and just the overall production design of it.
And thought it was fun. That kind of felt like a spy movie almost.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that aspect.
Just another thing that was balanced pretty well with, or it fit in to a movie with already so many different styles going with the sci-fi stuff and the African culture and the superhero stuff. I thought all meshed pretty well.
But yeah, on the villain side, you have Michael B. Jordan and Andy Serkis, and yeah, Andy Serkis is a bit over the top, but he is clearly having so much fun, and I'm a big Andy Serkis fan anyway.
And if anyone's gonna pull off being a little over the
Crazy.
top, it's probably he does a good job of not making it seem too cheesy.
Sure.
Or enjoyably.
He's
cheesy.
he's entertaining.
Yeah, that's how it was here. And Michael B. Jordan's Killmonger character was getting a lot of buzz on the internet, that many people were declaring him as the best villain in the MCU, at least since Loki. And I don't necessarily agree with that. I just thought it could have been handled like a little deeper. That, yeah, his backstory is very interesting, but felt like some of that was glanced over a little bit,
and glanced over with exposition and not really showing anything.
And like they didn't. I felt like if they had spent a little more time with him and we saw him go through stuff as a character a little more, then we would have been able to connect with him a little more. But yeah, like you said, kind of seemed like most of it was just exposition that, oh, here's what happened and stuff.
And I was kind of underwhelmed by Michael B. Jordan's acting, which that may be a cardinal sin to even mention on the internet, because everywhere I've seen, like, if you're going to praise one thing about this movie, it's Michael B. Jordan. And I'm a big Michael B. Jordan fan. I've enjoyed a lot of his work before, and I was just kind of let down by his character, and I feel really weird saying that, because yeah, it might be taboo, but yeah, that's just what I made of it. I liked Martin Freeman's character.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun to have him.
Yeah. Again, I'm a big fan of his too. But yeah, I thought it was a good choice to have him kind of be the fresh eyes to this new world,
Uh-huh.
and not exactly like a introductory character to introduce us, the audience, into the world, because we had seen a lot of it before he showed up anyway. But yeah, I thought his role was interesting. For a second there, when they introduced Forrest Whitaker, I was waiting to see if we were gonna get good Forrest Whitaker or Saw Gerrera Forrest Whitaker from Rogue One with all the lies. But just yeah, when he first showed up, I'm like, okay, and he didn't go that far. I was glad.
I thought
And
he was kind of interesting.
yeah,
Mhm.
I thought his role was very interesting. That he brought a lot of weight to the story, but yeah, overall, I understand why this movie is being deemed so important, and the message it tells. I just felt like those aspects could have been hit a little harder. Like it's a tough balancing act to
Mm-hmm.
pull off, but just it it didn't. Yeah, I understand why it wouldn't hit home for me, because yeah, I don't, or we we're small town Midwest boys. That a story like that would definitely resonate with other people more. But I felt like that could have. It didn't feel as weighty to me. Just again, kind of glanced over, like just mention certain things and then pull away real quick. But yeah, still enjoyed it very well. Scoring, I'll give it a 8 out of 10.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna regret a lot of my scores probably. And
Sure,
like,
I already
I
have a
already
couple.
think I rated Jumanji way too high, but and maybe just
Oh, careful.
and probably the Cloverfield Paradox. But I don't know. I'll have to see it again.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'll definitely
Right
need
now, I'm going probably 7.5, which could definitely go up.
to. Uh-huh.
I'll probably give it a 8 as well.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, definitely, I feel like it's one that I'll need to see again,
Mm-hmm.
to see if it grows on me. Because like first time viewing, thought there
Yeah.
could be things that, given a little more time to soak in, could get better. But
Uh-huh. Most of the time, the way Marvel films have worked for me in the past, usually if I end up loving a film, I love it the very first time, and it, I mean, typically, however I think about a film, they usually just get better. Anyway, like even Guardians 2, which
Did you watch that a second time?
I did watch that a second time. The first time, I was not a fan. None of us were fans of Guardians 2, and yeah, just sort of off subject. But hey, MCU, it's an MCU discussion. But yeah, I was close to hating Guardians 2. It was definitely the weakest MCU film for me. But the second time, the stuff I hated even more.
Really?
But there are great things in that movie, particularly the ending. I feel like it's the strongest ending in the MCU. But
yeah, I need to get around to trying that again.
just yeah, a little input into where we stand among all MCU titles.
Uh-huh.
But So, getting into not really a spoiler discussion, just certain elements we wanted to talk about that may be deemed spoiler-ish.
So we're still giving the warning.
Yeah. But, uh, just off the top of my head, for one, with, I'm not going to try her name again, Michonne, with her character, apparently having a relationship with Daniel Kaluuya's Rhino Wrangler character, who ends up turning against T'Challa for a little bit there. That like they had one brief mention of them being a couple, and then I had completely forgotten about that. And when they bring it up at the end battle, I was like, oh yeah, that was a thing. That I feel like that yeah, it would have added more to the runtime, but if it helps flesh out characters, I don't mind that. But it could have used just a little bit more to really show us the dynamic between the two, because yeah, with his character turning against T'Challa and ending up being on Michael B. Jordan's side, which that story I liked that character angle of his, but it was another thing I felt like could have been handled a little like weightier, I guess.
Like if they had fledged it out, I don't know if that's the right term, but just not fully developed it, but just added a little more oomph, maybe.
There were a lot of little things that if it would have had just a little more oomph, as you say, would have worked better for me personally. But yeah, just a brief moment between those two would have helped. But yeah, speaking of rhino wrangling, that we've got war rhinos in this film,
rhinos.
Which is fun.
That was fun.
Which leads me to a minor complaint that I felt like even though this movie has a lot of good visual effects, I didn't feel like they were overall on the standard of most Marvel films. That the rhinos are cool, but I felt like they were a step down from, like, say, the wolf in Thor Ragnarok, which I'm still impressed by those effects. But yeah, decent enough, just nothing mind-blowing or anything. Better than some superhero movies out there. Superman's mustache cuff. But I'm sorry about that. What? Anyway, but yeah, I say having war rhinos in your film is always a plus.
And
hashtag Infinity War needs war rhinos. But
speaking of the war rhinos, that tribe that bred the rhinos, they have their special horns to summon the rhinos, and the rhinos just come running from wherever they are,
fully armored.
Yeah, fully armored. Who armored? I guess they just sleep with their armor on. But
well, we saw the rhino briefly earlier, and it didn't have armor.
It didn't.
I don't think
it was just grazing happily.
Yeah.
Okay.
That they weren't planning for a battle or anything. T'Challa just popped up, and they didn't even realize he was alive. So call upon the war rhinos, and they are fully armored. But
with them being able to summon rhinos in this movie, why didn't they make? I don't know if I should start a Justice League war. Maybe that
I have started it already.
Yeah, you have. But
I know where you're going.
Just with why couldn't Aquaman summon any aquatic creatures, or make that battle in Justice League be near the water so Aquaman could summon something?
Anything. The entire last battle in Justice League, I don't remember him doing anything water based at all. I mean, the entire movie, like, he stops a wave at one point. And in this section of the Black Panther review, we bring you the mini segment called Let's Bash Justice League, because we want the internet to hate us. Yeah, we're sorry, but just where we stand, the DCU ain't that good. But but yeah, just the least Justice League could do. Hey, he summons a tuna and then slaps Steppenwolf in the face with it. Something, anything. It's not a killer whale.
We should probably get back to Black Panther
Yeah.
before
Yes.
too
Sorry.
much Justice League.
Back on track.
Last time we promised.
Do we though?
No.
Let's keep it.
I would have. This isn't really a spoiler necessarily, but I would have liked to see more of T'Challa in his kingly role, like at the beginning, or near the beginning, after he gets crowned, or I mean, never actually crowned, but just
Declared king.
yeah, made king.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, would like to see him more visiting the kingdom as the king role. Like they start to show a few scenes of that, but then the plot interrupts it, of course. So I guess maybe that isn't. I shouldn't be complaining if it starts rolling with the plot. But I would like to see him visiting more of the kingdom, maybe, and have more casually.
The tribes were kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the story behind the villain, Michael B. Jordan's villain, was interesting. A little familiar to Thor Ragnarok, where you've got a relative who comes in and wants to steal away the throne.
And I was,
if you think about it.
And I was thinking it was similar to Civil War with flashbacks that they show a couple of times before revealing that it involves the death of a parent. And so that's what I kept on thinking of, and why, to me, it didn't seem quite as impacting as Civil War.
Because it's a little familiar. But, yeah, I thought the backstory of his father was very interesting.
The backstory they showed was good. I just would like a little more backstory of in between, I guess, because most of that's what was the exposition that.
Him going on killing sprees and stuff like that.
Of course, I mean it's trying to keep it relatively family approachable.
You could show him in combat and stuff. This movie, you see people getting impaled and a few bloody wounds and stuff like that. You can show it while still hinting at it, but yeah, what are you gonna do?
Go full Logan, no.
Yeah, you can do that, but so far, Marvel's found their niche spot and that works fine for them. Let the Logans be Logans and.
Just another thing, like at first when Michael B. Jordan's character killed off Andy Serkis, when that first happened, I was like, oh, I don't really want Andy Serkis to be killed off that quickly. But then since he used that as kind of his tricky rite of passage into Wakanda, I thought that was kind of interesting. Like, still another thing that maybe could have had a little more oomph, but then when he got into that part of his plan, I was like, okay, now I can understand that.
And it helped flesh out Daniel Kaluuya's character a little bit too. Well, that's about all we got for this one. A real good time at the theaters. A strong entry from Marvel. definitely recommend you go see it, and we'll see you guys later.
Yeah.